Imagine this for a second. You're currently in the top 4 of the Shadowverse Open kickoffs. You are just 2 matches away from qualifying to the World Grand Prix for a chance of winning over $1 million. You need to clear this board. You only have one 2-drop in your hand, which is a Luminous Lancetrooper. Would you, in this situation, play Luminous Lancetrooper, use a 1-1 token to trade into the 2-2, and then use your 1-1 to kill the 2-2 and swing 1 damage to face? If that was your answer, then you are not Itsuki Koname. Well, you see, he had the glorious idea that potentially the best way to play this was by trading his current board into it, and then playing a 1-2 and a 1-1, having an objectively worse board, and creating this reaction GIF that will go down in Shadowverse Open history. Before we get into the meat of the video, I do want to make one thing very clear. I don't know who Itsuki Koname is, outside of the fact that he qualified to this tournament. I'm sure generally speaking, he's a fine player who practices a lot, but in this particular tournament, unfortunately, he played badly, right? And honestly, I'm not even going to criticize him that much, because to be frank, the Taiwanese community has done that to the extreme. And that's what we're going to be covering in today's video, which is the international criticism of our level of play in the Shadowverse Open. So before we can move into the criticism from the Taiwanese side, there is one more clip that we need to review. And so this is in the finals, game 1, Sword against Haven, where he evolves Grimnir and does 6 damage to face instead of evolving Zirconia. Now, in my opinion, this is a major misplay, almost objectively so, because the only play that Oz can possibly do here is Salifer. And then Salifer, no matter what happens here, is basically going to clear the board minus the Zirconia. And the difference is, if you evolve Zirconia, it will be a 6-3, sorry. And then on top of that, it will give you the option to evolve your second Zirconia in hand, making this a 7-4, which means that it does not die to another Salifer evolve, right? You get to push 7 damage, dropping him to 8 HP. And then no matter what your opponent does, so if they go second Salifer, the Salifer will die. And if they don't go second Salifer and they go Unholy Grail, they'll also have no board, right? And then what this means is that on the following turn, you can Super Evo Albert to face for 6 damage, dropping them to 5 HP, and then you can go for lethal with Ravening Tentacles. And the only possible way that they can survive this is if they drew all 3 Salifer, and even then, your position is not that bad because of the fact that they'll have only 1 Super Evo left in the entire game, and it'll make it very difficult to develop Wilbert or alternatively Ether, meaning you're going to win the game regardless of how you play from that point. However, because of this particular misplay, where he does this instead, goes wide, and allows him to play Salifer, full clearing the board, and then removing the potential turn 7 almost guaranteed lethal. This is a major misplay, and I don't think there's much defending it. I think you can say it was nerves, and I accept that as an excuse, but there's no world where you say it's not a misplay. So we are currently on Dandan's channel, and we can see that this particular video discussing the play that we just had a look at has 22,000 views, which is a crazy number when you consider that it's one of his highest performing videos on YouTube. We're now looking at the forum, gamer.com.taiwan, which is a forum that, to my knowledge, a lot of Taiwanese players use. So we have used Google Translate. It is meant to be in Chinese, but I think it'll be easier for everyone to follow along if we use an English translation. But essentially, they are criticizing Itsuki Koname's play in the Shadowverse Open. So as you can see, the 2 clips that we discussed earlier are shown here. This is the one where he plays the 1-2 and the 1-1, and then he trades both of them in, and then plays another one. And then obviously we get the meme react face, right? It doesn't make any sense, and obviously everyone knows that. For those of you that are wondering why he's called an Australian prodigy, it's because he is a very well-known player in the Australian scene for Hearthstone. He is only 16 years old and he's already got insane results across Hearthstone. So essentially people are saying, why the heck is this Australian prodigy losing to a player that makes this many horrible mistakes? They then skip to the grand finals, where it's Itsuki Koname versus Rs21. And then again, who should we evolve here? And then when they evolve Grimnir, he goes, wait a second, why are you doing that? This is a player that plays so badly, but can still hit second place. So you know how bad the competition is in this game. It's not just a bad mistake, it's totally illogical. Maybe even people who only play for 1 or 2 days won't make this mistake. From this we can see that this gaming competition is a joke. Just play casually. If you want to compete, you're a clown. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I think the sentiment is there. How can you make so many mind-boggling, low-level plays and still make second place in what is ostensibly one of the biggest competitions of the year? So one of the replies to this thread was about this particular picture, which is a pig playing cards. So SNC, which is one of the Asian leagues, the equivalent to SVO essentially. So one of the replies to this thread was of this particular pig playing cards picture. So in the SNC, which is an Asian equivalent to the Shadowverse Open, you can choose to display your own avatars in an online competition. And so one of the players actually used the picture shown below, which is of a Sapphire player in Master Tier, a pig playing cards, essentially, right? And so in the SNC is you pick 2 decks to play BO3, and then almost everyone picks the Spellboost Dirt Rune deck, right? Because, I mean, why wouldn't you when, when you can pick 2 decks, right? And you have to play both. So what they're saying is that a lot of players make a huge amount of misplays, but in the end, it doesn't matter because they can simply play Kikaitis and Dimension Climb together. And there's no skill involved. Doesn't matter how well you play, how badly the opponent plays, etc. And this is why they end up calling it pig playing cards, which is basically describing those who play very badly but still win in the end. And so I think it's pretty funny. Like, let's have, I mean, it's literally a pig with a Sapphire Master Tier. And all you need is a Super Evo and this particular combo, and this is apparently a meme in the Chinese and Taiwanese community. And so when we jump down to the comments section, we see a bunch of the highest rated replies. You beat the Runecraft player not because he played well, but because the Runecraft player bricked. Or the Runecraft player only needs to survive until 10 mana to draw Kikaitis and Dimension Climb. The rest is not anything that they need to consider. Right? And I think some of these comments are, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's sort of true, right? I mean, if you've ever played the Runecraft Mirror, you'll know. End of the day, the matchup is dependent on who manages to play Kikaitis and Declimb, and hopefully have this particular combo with the pig playing cards. So the next comment we're going to have a look at is this one that's commenting around how Swordcraft's cards are so strong that even a new player who doesn't know how to play can beat others by randomly evolving and playing cards. So when is this deck going to get nerfed? And one of the responses here, so I'm just going to jump to detail, so saying, I don't think it's a card or a class problem. This fake player who uses Roach is also a complete idiot. He has a handful of 0-cost cards, and he can still somehow immediately draw into a second Roach and win. It's pure luck. Now, if you're wondering what he's referring to, he's talking about this particular turn. So obviously, against Runecraft, you're on a clock, you must draw Roach or you will lose the game, right? And so what you'll notice is that he's overdrawn, so he's gone to 9 cards in hand, and then basically by not playing the 0-cost here, it means that he's definitely going to burn the next card. It will be a shame if that was Roach, right? Because obviously, some people never get punished. Well, you'll notice that at the start of this turn, he draws Roach and burns it. Okay, so he did get punished, right? Well, not really. Because the next thing he does is he plays Lily, and he evolves it, tries to clear the board, and what does he draw? Second Roach off the top. So effectively, we've seen in this exact same tournament, where a player can draw literally 30 cards in his deck and not see a single Roach, right? And yet, at the same time, Itsuki Koname is so professional that he can deliberately burn a Roach off his draw and then draw into the second one right away. How crazy is that? Is that just a skill gap? And you can see there's a bunch more comments around here, but essentially, no one is saying that Itsuki Koname played a good game. So the next one we're going to have a look at is this one talking about the competition system and the BO1. So we chucked it into DeepL. And so effectively it's going, this format is really problematic. There's going to be a bunch of Runecraft players and clowns who are self-destruct because they don't think enough and make mistakes. In best of one, even a bunch of poor players can definitely win. In this version of Swordcraft, even if you make mistakes, you still have a good chance of winning. They just want ordinary players to feel like they have a chance too, so everyone can compete for the prize money. It's 87% similar to the trend of simplification in other esports games. Other esports games add rock, paper, scissors element to reduce the gap between pros and newbies. Our games already have an element of luck, so they can only tweak the format. BO1 makes everyone feel like they have a chance. It's a brilliant move, but I can't help but think that BO1 is stupid. It makes the serious players look like idiots. By the way, I actually 100% agree with this. I think BO1 formats are often very bad. I think, especially in a game like Shadowverse, to be honest, I don't think the gap between a top player and an average player is really that large. I think, for example, let's just say like a good player, like an average good player has like a 55% win rate, and like, a top player has something like a 70% win rate or something like that, right? But when it comes down to a BO1 format, like that's not a significant advantage. Like considering how you qualify for the event, like even if you're the best player, most of the time you're not actually going to qualify off the event. So in my mind, it is actually almost a bit of a waste of time to like, spend too much time on Shadowverse on a competitive level because of the fact that the format is so bad. Like honestly, like you could play so many other card games where your time will be rewarded more. I think there's two issues, right? Like first one is around like hard counter matchups, and other card games have this too, but then you see these situations like Ward Haven versus Roach, and it's sort of like, okay, well, I guess I just get unlucky and die, right? um and I think like the other issue is like, BO1, like the worst player does just end up winning a bunch of times. And so even though in the finals we get a situation where it's like, BO3 matches, whatever, but the fact that like the BO1 already like cut off the field in such a way, so like by the time the BO3 format comes in, like the damage has already sort of been done. And BO3 in Shadowverse, like without the ban, like I'm not really sure it's particularly skillful. Like obviously it's better than BO1, but even BO3 is not the greatest, to be honest. So I think I obviously agree with this guy. I think BO1's a bit of a joke, but like I think the reason they do it is pretty obvious, right? They want everyone to have a chance to win, right? And so when you have this type of situation where you want everyone to be able to win, then of course you go to these streamed matches and you see misplays and you have to think, well, yeah, duh, of course, right? But overall, I want to reiterate, like, I don't really know Itsuki Koname personally. So like, again, I didn't make this video to flame him. I just thought, a lot of the English community, like literally don't see any of this like Taiwanese or like foreign kind of conversation. It reminds me of kind of like the League of Legends kind of threads where like, after like a Worlds match or something like that, sometimes they'll post like the Chinese reactions to the game, whatever. And I thought that was really interesting because I know for a fact that, the other Shadowverse channels are definitely not doing this type of content. So I thought that was really kind of interesting, like stuff that you wouldn't normally see. And also, we did technically analyze the game, didn't we? So if you do enjoy this type of content, make sure to let me know, and maybe we can do it again when there's like a future competition. But otherwise, I'll see you guys next time for whatever my next video ends up being. Make sure to like and subscribe, and see you.